Welcome everybody to the Flowably podcast and blog. We've got a special guest today. It's Pavel Kuzmin, who's a co-founder and a CTO of Poll-lite. He's an entrepreneur with long experience, project manager and product owner of so many projects that I'm just gonna stick to the current one because it's gonna take us ages to cover all the games, all the digital solutions that Pavel has created and co-created. So we've got a magician in the room. He's speaking with us from Singapore, and I would first like to say hi.
Hello, thanks for having me.
It's lovely to have you, and I'm super thrilled to talk about your current endeavors and also with regard to flow in your work and wellness. But maybe first, can you share a tiny bit about your beautiful startup called Poll-lite?
Oh, sure. The main idea was, there's a bunch of different tools online to interview your customers and gather the feedback. But nobody really cares about offline experience. And that's really extreme case because many stores give you very, ugly cards or balls, and you need to put them in a specific place to explain your attitude to the store. It's really doesn't work well and looks disgusting. So that's why we start to think how we can improve experience of people in this matter, right? We have like me and my co-founder, who is CEO of the company, Calvin. He's Singaporean, so he's main the main previously in sales, so he knows about all these pain points offline and online. And I'm here more as a software development guy, product manager. So, and we decided that it's a good challenge for both of us to optimize with domain. So yeah.
So it's the name comes from Poll, a survey tool, and light because it's a lightweight solution. And it sounds like polite, which is, really congratulations on the name. I know how difficult it is to find a brilliant name, and this is one.
Yeah, you got it right. And more even, we was lucky enough to get the .com domain name.
Perfect.
and all the branded pages. Yeah. So and basically why it's so light, right? Because we use special paper. We've integrated RFID chips inside, so people who has the mobile phone can easily touch by phone with sticker, and the special web page automatically open on device. And it's not like a QR code when you need to open the camera, scan it, click on that. So all these steps are excluded. So it's streamlined. So it's open for you this web survey directly. And after that, it's constructed in the form of Tinder cards. So you just swipe questions by fingers. So if you like it or don't like it. So, and it can be up to 20 questions. So we recommend our clients to use up to 20 questions to make all the session less than a minute. So for people, it really makes no effort, just touch by phone, swipe several times, done. Right?
I love it because, Pavel, we're already starting on the topic of flow here, because what you're describing is how you create flow for your customers and how for actually your customers, how can you remove steps that are tedious and it's maybe a hassle to do them, and it's all an easy experience. And maybe from as a background to the concept of flow, it can describe, go with the flow is a more kind of a proverbial expression with, having this lightness and easy process, which I think that is a core of designing digital, well, not just digital products, but right down your alley of creating flow for others. But I'm also very interested in your experience as a person who creates, because the other aspect of flow is this peak performance in the zone sort of moment when you're so right at your task, you're so connected with it that the world disappears and you're just like really absorbed in it. So I was wondering, like in your work, designing and implementing digital solutions, like how does flow feel? Where does it occur? How do you experience it?
So most likely you heard about the word names Agile, right? So because it was very fashionable for last several decades, right? But nobody will tell you like what's the real Agile mean, because usually people like pretend to be Agile, but they are not really Agile like in this matter. Like this term came from software development. That's why I learned about that very early, like in the early 2000s, right? And the core of Agile is that development should have small iterations, because you need to show to your clients like almost everything what you are doing. And that's really the core value of Agile. And that's the main things that help you to deliver something that people will really love and use, right? Because so if you want to deliver successful product, right? So it's not just make something that works. It's just one level of efforts. Also, you need to make something that people will keen to use, right? It's another level, and that's the same size level. And sometimes people confuse it. Oh, I will make things that works, and people will love it, right? No, so you will spend the same amount of efforts to make it be loved by people. And on top of that, if are you planning to earn money from all of these things, so you need to deliver things that people will work, people will like it, and they will keen to pay for that. And that's extra more efforts, the same layer, right? And without this like validation, you will never construct this like 3 layers piece, right? Cake for this like best in class product. So that's why. So I think about that from matters of support, right? So if you're really inspired by work, right, by things that what you are doing, you always need to have a support, else you will simply burn out. And when you came to the client and like seek validation of your like development direction, right? So that give you also, besides the answers and some I don't know, updates, right, in your like development flow, like it gives you like enormous amount of energy support. Right?
Yeah, actually, you're touching already on something that's established in the motivational psychology, that one of the elements facilitating flow is feedback. And this in the agile environment, you say that this touch from the customers who give you feedback provides this energy to keep rolling, to keep flowing, as far as I understand.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So I think it's so okay. We came from Agile, but definitely that is based on the common sense, right? So on the how things works like in the real life. So it doesn't matter that is it software development or something else. And many companies, not just like software company, using Agile now like as a methodology, as a frameworks, right? Scrum or different like other frameworks of Agile. Yeah. So I think it's just like how like nature works, right?
Yeah, it's a process management that's not so much domain specific, and this is, I think, the power of it. I mean, it can be applied in many to many products. It's not just for I don't know, like solutions for agriculture or just for solutions for this. It's like it's very it's not so domain specific. It's more the navigation of the process, which is, I love it that we're already at this topic, because this is has a lot to do with flow, because of components of process management. And like in order to be in flow, some people I suppose like all of us spontaneously fall into it. If the task is super interesting, it happens. But it's a skill that with our startup, with Flowably, we're trying to develop with my colleagues to have this and here maybe I should mention like the other person on the podcast who is joining us in other sessions of this. Pete Fraser, who's founder and CEO of Buoy, is he comes from investment banking background, etc. But like we're interdisciplinary, merging together for this podcast, and to also mention my co-founder at Flowably, who Phoebos Giannopoulos, who comes from like IT background as well. So we are here like a melting pot of, and I'm a cognitive scientist, so we're a melting pot of different expertise domains and people who are interested in flow. And I love it that you're joining in, because I'm just wondering, like in your case, for example, in your domain, like what is the part of your work that you find most flow inducing? Like when I tell you flow and you think about your work, you're like, this moment, what would be this?
Okay, so I think it's investigation and creation of the feature set, right? So usually the ideas of the new features came from like several streams, right? So it's like data-oriented approach, like product-oriented approach, and what's the, okay, let's stop on desert tool, right? So sometimes like observing how people are using your product, right? So you figure out that, oh, it can basically works better. And that's really a aha moment that immediately energize you, right? And you want to like run and fix and create these things like. And second fix is product oriented, when you have like good alignment with your development team, and together you suddenly realize that some of technologies can be used differently to deliver like better experience to the client. And that's usually like information that came only from your team, from like somebody who cares about the product from the base, right? And that's also like give like another level of alignment with the other guys as a team. So you definitely start to work better if you can like came to such conclusions, right? And come up with that ideas together, right? And work on them. So
Wow.
it's definitely will make you really unite.
So what you're describing now is like one part that's like the investigation and creation. This is more individual flow, and the other part, when you align with your team for the production, so to say, process, is more like a group flow. Would you did I understand you correctly?
Both of them are group flow, so it's just a difference where the source information came from, right? So data source, so basically it came from people who work with the data. So usually I'm only one guy who observes the data so in the team. So but in the big companies, definitely there's data scientists who observe the data to come up with such insights. So but product oriented fix, when the ideas came from everyone in the team. It can be from like QA testers, right? From like designers or other people. For example, designer can read some article that buttons, if you make like squared buttons, circles, right? It will increase the performance. Or if you make like two equal buttons, you make it by circles, but one circle is bigger. So and that's very specific area of knowledge, right? That's came from specialists only.
So for
right?
you, this connection to the specialists gives this flow. So you're describing this synergy of knowledge that is emerging through your communication.
So you know, sometimes teams work like in waterfall manner, not agile, right? So you create the specification, and after that everybody need to deliver that, and you basically need people just to execute. So they didn't impact the creation of product, right? So, and I'm always trying to play a ball, right, with my guys, because I see the huge value in this like relationship when everybody contribute to the product, because nobody can knows like all the last updates of the technologies, tools, features, best practices, like standards of industry, other things. So it's very, you know, arrogant to think that only senior managers can make those decisions, right? So that's why sometimes people came with really good proposals regarding the product, and as far as this came from the like from people directly involved in the implementation, and everybody align about that. So it's really give good fruits to the
This is fantastic, because I didn't expect that. Like I was thinking, like, your individual flow, where do you sense it, and so, and like this answer already catapults us into the there is, for example, this Stealing Fire book, which is one of the top recommendation books about flow. And they talk about the Marines, like how the US Marines, the SEALs actually, so how they train, and how, like, there, for example, it's about group flow, because like there are many domains of flow, like a professional sports person performing, going through their routine, or a new task, or in a competition. I experience flow, for example, for hours on end when dancing, but it's like, it can be individual, but what you describe is like this kind of, first you said that you don't like that the waterfall model, maybe because of its hierarchy and top-down approach of, like, you mentioned something that was sounding like that the managers know and they tell people what to do, but like here you observe how everyone comes together and kind of like there is this synergy that brings everyone on the new knowledge stance, because you cannot learn everything, you cannot know everything, and you feed each other, so to say, this into this flow process.
It's again about these like layers, right? So by classical approach with hierarchy, with waterfall, you can deliver something that works. You can, right? Because everybody is professional engineers, right? Everybody like make their work well, right? And things works. But will people like it? Probably not, right? So because nobody put their like soul inside, right? Nobody care about the product. So and that level of involvement, so you cannot like expected that people will just put it inside, right? Especially if they're just employees, right? So you need to engage them on completely different level of senses, right? So you need to explain them what we are not here to I don't know. It's like the story about like President Kennedy and NASA. When President Kennedy came to the NASA and asked a cleaner what he's doing here, his answer that he's like sending person to space, right? But actually he's cleaning the floor, right?
Yeah.
So it's what that level of involvement I'm trying to explain, right? So if people just came to make a design, or just like code the interfaces, or just code the backend, right? And nobody knows like how backend works, right? In the so, so there's the people who will be disconnected, and the product who is responsible for like common results, right? Just one single manager, right? Or like, so it's definitely not how things can be done in the modern time, especially when competition is so high, and people really people like really good teams work on really great products, and the same idea came to 6 people on the earth simultaneously, right? So and rally started. So that's why. So we need to think about like people communication, about people involvement, like common efforts, and why we're working, like what we are doing, what's our like result, like. So is it like average quality like software product, or it's really something that will ignite the people, right? And they will speak about that.
Ignite, this is a very nice word. And I was just sensing that I wanted to ask you about like the moment when you like how do you sense if people are warm, if they're ignited, if they're joining in the project with their fullest? How do you sense that?
So first clear sign is that people start to ask questions, right?
Okay.
Not just you ask about questions, but they came up by themselves, right? And often to ask questions means they really dig deeper, and they want to know what's happening, right? And how they can put themselves inside.
So we've got like more data points, so to say, like a higher sampling rate, so to say, better connection actually.
And second sign is that people start to be disagree. So
Okay.
usually, when people are not involved, they agree with everything because they simply doesn't care, right? So you tell them what to do, everybody execute, right? So, but when people start to argue with you, means so there's another picture of the product in their head, but at least that means that they start to think about that. So yeah, so that's why. So if I came to the team, right, and I'm trying to get them engaged, right, and if I don't see like questions and disagreements, so I consider this as very bad sign, and that really need to think about team building or like another things like.
Right, right. I never thought of this in this sort of in this sort of angle, and this is the beautiful part about having guests of magnificent experience. We can peek around the curtains of another process, which is fantastic, and to see like that this boiling maybe is like it might be like a disagreement. There might be heated up discussions. Like I totally.
It's a brilliant if people start to arguing like heavily, because that means so we really work on something, right? Really work, because so we need to find the best solution, right? So and we need to have all the arguments why this solution is the better than others, right? For example, when we work on our web application, and there was idea to place like skip and undo button to the bottom to make people easily click on that. And after that, one of our like early adopters told us that why I can skip cards so easily. It's supposed to be harder for me to skip the card, right? Because I need to express my emotions about that. Am I like it or I dislike it, right? So that's why, so we put buttons, we make it very thin, put it on top, and that's almost impossible to click on them. So they're still on the screen.
But so you got some dark pattern.
yeah, but to skip the card, you need to put extra efforts, and usually people ignore it, and they really like or dislike, and that's our goal, because we need to have emotional estimation from person, right? Because we're interested, is it like good or not, right? Because the question is binary. Skipping is no information, so it's
exactly
it's false.
It's an empty data point.
And if you ask myself and our designers, so we are going like nobody doing that. People will confuse there's buttons with back buttons and move to the next screen buttons. So it's like out of any like design guidelines, right? Other things, 1,000 arguments, right? But sooner or later, data told us that really, if you put buttons there, nobody skip the cards, and that's exactly what we need for the product, right?
Great.
So
you had like some kind of off-the-chart solution, uncharted territory that was not by the book, but it proved to work. Wow. Okay. So this is also
and
kind of like an
personally, now when I use it, I realize that it's more convenient. It's more convenient. So because skip button and undo button, so there was really like heavy weighted, right? UI was like heavy. Now it's much easier.
Yeah. And UI and UX, this is to me, this is when we look from the perspective of flow, it's a kind of like a nested on so many levels, because UI, UX are about creating flow for the user. So it's not like, as you say, just the product works or not, but like you create this experience for them. You're facilitator, like digital facilitators of experience. So exactly like the nitty-gritties that you just mentioned with the position, with the placement of the buttons, like it's a total vital point for how this flow of experience is going to run. And at the same time, it was facilitated by your collaboration in the team. And
you see here we came up very close to the clear difference between waterfall and agile. I told you in the beginning that nobody understood what agile mean, right? But in waterfall, you create the design, you give it to developers, and developers deliver the design, right? And guideline was needed to avoid something that developers cannot integrate, right? So what happened now in the agile? The design is not final and never will be final. And designer will never make his work done, right?
Because of iteration, like
yes,
at every
yes.
cycle you iterate and improve, improve.
It can be frustrating. It can be frustrating, but I told you it's the same amount of efforts should be placed inside to deliver something that people will like, and that's the price.
Okay. And I was wondering, like, because like you have this, for example, disagreements, like heated discussions, what other skills do people on the team need to like deliver the good iteration? Because, you know, like there is I suppose there is a step from fighting to delivering a good sprint result. What are those skills that follow up on the heated discussion?
So, basically I focus only on two things, right? So I really ask them to practice active listening, right? Because often people while they listen, they construct the answer, right? I ask them to not think about the answer until another person stops talking, right? Just simply like that. Don't think about your answer, just listen. Don't think about answer. So that's hard. So, but people start practicing it, active listening, right? So another things, when we are arguing, we never take it personally, right? So if I'm arguing about design, I'm not arguing about like designers like skill set, right? Or about his like professional level. I don't say that his designer sucks. So I cannot say that, right? But so again, so there's idea that there's a buttons can be different, right? Maybe not in standard way delivered, right? Not fully aligned with like best practices of design, but our product will benefit from that. And the talk I have with people about these things, I always ask them who benefit from that, like you or the company. So because as a developer, you can make something like very fast and it will work and we will show it to the client and give the feedback and we will close our iteration. Or you can make something in full accordance with your like style guides, you put comments, other things, you will be brilliant developer. You make everything fine. Next developer who came after you and look at your work said, wow, it's a brilliant guy. But who benefit from this behavior? You or the company, right? So
this is it's a vital point. It's certainly a vital point that I've also noticed in our. I was very fortunate to make to be a part of an interdisciplinary PhD team. So with our colleagues, we like the three of us, each of us did like a PhD and a half. So like our own PhD and like half of a PhD work together. And this is, I think, of all the things that I've learned, maybe even like the top thing that I learned from the communication with them, because first of all, like we come from different disciplines, there's so many misunderstandings. Sometimes it takes like weeks to understand that even using the same words, the discipline has charged them in a different way, so it means something different. So incredibly rich. And there was this moment of being like, we have so many, because we were also designing a serious game for teenagers, so we were like having to touch upon so many details of the idea of the implementation of the model behind it, etc., that at some point you argued or worked so much that you just don't care anymore whose idea it is. You forgot whose idea it is. Even if you want to be egocentric about it, you can't, because you forgot, and it's like, okay, let's just finish. This sounds no, it's more like, okay, this sounds reasonable. I have no clue anymore. I'm so confused who gave the idea. I think it's fine, let's just run with that. So I totally agree. Never take it personally and just run with the best idea of the pool. And maybe to because now we were very fortunate to dive deep into the flow experience at work, but there are also flow like multiverses of possible flow experiences. And as I mentioned to you earlier, a topic that for us at Flowably is very important. It's like the balance between flow and wellness, and it's like, how can you find flow in every aspect of your life, work and leisure the same way as wellness, because arguably you can work feeling very brutalized by the work environment, or you can be like, oh my god, we're sending people to the moon, but you're cleaning the floor, right? So you have this aspect of fulfillment to it. So I was wondering, like, in the busy life of a person creating, like, shaping the face of digital technology for years now, where does wellness fit for you? Do you have time for it, and what do you do so to relax, to calm down from all this?
Okay. As you told, I'm in Singapore now, right? So I'm here for the last 6 years already. So in Singapore, it's quite fast town, right? So life here is extremely like intense, and really it's really hard to get relaxed here, right? So especially if you take like this like inspiration story, right? So another side of the medal is that the projects usually take all your free time and energy, right? Because you inspired, and that takes more and more and more and more like energy from you. That's why you always need to remember. So need to remember that energy should came from somewhere, right? So because sooner or later, if you will not top up it, so it will finished, right? So first year here, I allow myself to work on the weekend, but after that, I clear rule that I will never work on weekend, right? Because so else it will be like payment, and payment will be very cruel for that, right? So for example, so nowadays, like after 6 years, right? So now if I will work Saturday and Sunday, next week I will not survive until Friday. So my body will make some trick with me. So I will have some, I don't know, I get sick or have a headache or something like. So I will need to pay back these like missing parts. That's why weekend is untouchable, right? And we always need to remember that we need to take our hands busy with something else to stop thinking about previous things. That's why bicycle, some kind of volunteering I practice. So we use boats to clean the garbage from the rivers. And clearly, when I'm on the boat, on the bicycle, so it's very hard to think about software development, yeah. So that's the trick. So it's not about like, do I trust or don't trust myself, but it's some way of be disconnected from that part, like for some certain period of time to just recover the energy level. Yeah.
I love that. And when you said that you have to pay it back, it sounded almost like I think you also mentioned that in a previous conversation of ours, that you like felt like you accumulated some debt to your to your body. How did that feel? Like when did you have a wake-up call when you realized, oh no, it's I shouldn't be doing that? Or was it more progressive?
So I don't know. Maybe it happened because I start to be close to the 40 by myself, or maybe because of Singapore, because so before I never experienced these things, right? So it started happening with me only here, right? So, but I think it's because of Singapore climate partially, right? Because here is like weather is really humid, right? So I used to run before, and now here is really hard. It's really hard.
I say, just a jump in, it's not an excuse. When I lived in Singapore, like running outside was one of the things that I think I did like once, and I almost fainted. So I agree with you, Pavel. It's not just an excuse.
So, but the tricky part is that you really need to wait for a proper time to run, right? And not each single day is suitable for that. So usually it's happening like once time, like each 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, when like rain happened, right? Sun haven't started, or it's evening time already, and you have a brilliant like window when the air is still like light and like not so like how's that, vet, right? So to breathe it freely,
Humid.
right?
Yeah.
Else so it can finish like very bad. So I try to run each single day and force myself to run each single day. And I realized that, so I really harm myself like in this way. Yeah.
I really like that you say that, because it's important. Like when it comes to wellness, a lot of people confuse wellness. At least that's my impression, for like a hardcore training, for like as if you're a sports person, or going to the spa, and like somehow in between maybe yoga fits in. But so with the time, I think we're going like more nuanced. But I think that you reached a very important realization, which is that you have to know when is it a good time, and to check your energy level, to know like what's realistic and what's not. So I think that this is a very good process that is happening at your side.
I start to notice so that if I force myself to do exercise, if I don't do it because I want, if I force myself to exercise, I don't take energy from it, right? So I'm doing it, but it's like idle, right? It really doesn't bring me any benefit. So you should be in the specific like mood for that, right? For training. So your body naturally need to expect it. Else you will just rape yourself, right? So
exactly.
So,
I mean, I think that this is a precise word, even if it's brutal, but this is how people's attitude is. And I see like some clients expect from me to push their guilt that they're not doing exercise. And they're so surprised when I tell them that this is not the point to have one more thing to be guilty about. It's like about well-being, and well-being emerges from love. It does not emerge from compulsion, from forcing yourself to do something.
So I think here is the process is much more complicated, but you really need to listen yourself, right?
Exactly.
And do things when it's like appropriated and requested, right? But listen it very like attentively. Don't miss it, right? Don't ignore it. Then if you want to have like walk, right? So go and have walking, right? So that, because probably your brain needs some relax, or your body needs some relax, eyes need some, back needs some relax, other things. Yeah. So that's my secret. So I'm trying to listen myself, and if I feel that, oh, it's too much already of work, and I really need to like relax something, right? So I'm trying like to switch to something else, right? Attention to something else, and find a way how I can recover my energy level before returning back.
Yeah, this is fantastic, Pavel. Thank you. I think that, with this, I think with the active listening that you mentioned earlier, and like listening to yourself attentively. So it's like both, in the group, to yourself. I think that this is probably like the best kind of a jewel point that I would like our listeners to stay with. And maybe we continue a conversation another time. And I'm really, really happy to see the creators live from the work perspective and from the relaxation or wellness self-care perspective. This is the fantastic unity of creation and thriving that we search for, and help people at Flowably. So thank you so much for being the first messenger for successful people taking care of themselves.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.